Yeah, you just get a little more gray in there.
Andrew King told me one time that Greg said, "You're the son I never had." Andrew said, "You're the uncle I never wanted." But it's all in good humor, so. So how y'all enjoying this cool weather? Well, let me remind you, last year we had 97 days of greater than 90 degrees plus.
Yes.
26 of those were greater than 100 degrees plus, and 11 of those were in a row. Now, how you liking this cool weather? Welcome to the 2024 inaugural session of the Library Lecture Series, sponsored by the Smith County Master Gardeners Association. My name is Dale Wade, and I am co-leader, along with Becky Wade, of the Education Program Committee. Today's lecture, Growing the Longview Arboretum, the Good, the Bad, and the Muddy, is presented by Stephen Chambless, former Executive Director of Longview Arboretum. I asked Stephen to send me a brief bio sketch, and he didn't. So I Googled him. I've used the Googler, and I found out that he was a minor league baseball star. But then I figured out it was the wrong Stephen Chambless. So I kept Googling him, and I found out that he dated Taylor Swift. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. Taylor Swift's mother. I'll take it. And then I found out that was the wrong one too. So I did find this, and I thought this worked. Stephen is a horticulturist, writer, and popular public speaker, active in horticulture for more than 40 years. Stephen uses humor and heart to bring hard science home and inspire gardeners across Texas. He is a contributor to Neil Sperry's e-newsletter. Surely y'all read this week's article he did about vines. He graduated from University of Delaware with an MS in Public Horticulture Administration as a Longwood Graduate Program Fellow. Under Stephen's direction, the Arboretum became a destination jewel for the city of Longview. Also, I should mention that he loves dogs. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Stephen Chambless.
I don't know if this mic's good enough for these guys. It's probably good enough for me. So thank you, welcome, and I have been a bad boy so far. You're right. You wanted a little bio, and I didn't send it. And they wanted 5 questions about what you're supposed to learn here, and I'm like, oh, what do you want to learn? So anyway, well, let's just proceed with this whole thing. There's a little philosophy and other things mixed in here. This is one of my favorite photographs I've ever taken. Not because it's a great picture, but because I think it determines how you look at life, okay? Am I celebrating the idea that there's a balloon in the picture, or am I PO'd at the idea that there's utility lines in the picture? Both are true, but I can concentrate on one or the other. So anyway, give that some thought. Just depends on how you look at it. Okay, this Dave Creech, he's still down at SFA. I think he's fossilized by now. And he wouldn't agree with that. Anyway, so somebody called him over and said, hey, we want you to look at this piece of property. There was a master gardener named Denzel Marsh who had a dream for this supposedly undeveloping land because, you know, floodplain and all that stuff. So a couple of guys went out there and they came up with this. This is a picture of the sign that was up there. And I'll try and make this a little bit. Am I okay with the sound and everything? Yeah. Sometimes I get a little far away from the mic. So anyway, this is the concept plan they came up, and they had some stuff on here, and I like the grand entrance. That's cool. Anyway, so basically that's the layout, and right there is where the entrance was supposed to be. okay? So after the plan was made, after the contract for construction was signed and all that jazz, a 3-acre parcel of land became available that was butted up right to the Arboretum. And that was right there. Right? So the board bought that, and so what was once the back of the Arboretum became the front door of the Arboretum. Okay, so that's kind of why it's a little weird when you go, but time will make it all blend in and everything. Okay, so this is kind of what we're looking at here, and so that's kind of the basic plan of it. And I started about a month before we opened, and as I try and do in every garden, I planted a tree on my first day. And it was beautiful, and I consecrated it. I came in the next morning, and someone had cut it down. So half the people claimed it was a beaver, and the other, I was like, I don't even see it around here, and it looks like a clean cut. So I think it was somebody telling me to. So I planted another tree right where it's at. Just life went on. So anyway, and by the way, that's Jim's little guy. A gift from SFA. So anyway, we are our opening day, which I learned a lot of things, most important of which, you know, you can have donuts that spell letters. Letters that spell things. Anyway, it was a great time for the community to get together, and everybody was rocking it. I don't know if anybody's in this room that's in these pictures, but Kimberly Fish doing her thing, and the ladies, and the sculpture there, and people out doing this. Wonderful people, and citizens from around, and our board was absolutely delighted with the whole thing. They were just imbuing, bubbling over with enthusiasm and excitement. So, Greg, you need to pay attention to the next 3 slides. So anyway, so this, there's one of our Texas senators. He gets up and he's talking a little bit. There's a couple of guys in the background who, as the more he talks, the less they pay any sort of attention. So, for those that's Keith Hansen and Dave Creech back there, completely ignoring the speech and being disruptive during everything. Anyway, favorite thing about kids, just there's a little hill, they just start rolling down the hill. You don't need to books, roll down the hill or anything, and of course everybody said, well, that made everybody happy. And we had a local judge get up, and I noticed one thing about the judge and the senator, and I'm like, you know, these boys belong to the same club or something. So we got Bob out there, Bob Messer, and he had a good time. And a good time was had by all, and the thing opened, and it was all great. So remember the whole back and forth. And anyway, so what happened was we had a big old blank spot right when you walk in the Arboretum. So anyway, so that's kind of what it looked like going in. That's straight away to the left, to the right. Anyway, so one of the first things we did with this area, there was a little flat spot in here, and I like the groovalicious kind of thing. So anyway, we planted a labyrinth here, okay? And the labyrinth, of course, I did all the work myself, and everything was great because it's all about me. Dan out there. I actually had 2 other community service guys. We almost killed the community service guys. I don't believe either of them had ever held a wheelbarrow or anything, shovels. Anyway, so we put this thing together, and it was cool. We got that laid out. We laid out some more paths as you're going through the thing and all that stuff, and just trying to do this and that. And I'm big on soil prep, which the one thing I can't figure out about East Texas, why everybody burns instead of compost. Or at least they do in my neighborhood. So I never quite figured it out, but I like just pile it up, leave it a couple of years, and man, you got gold there. So anyway. No one was particularly caring about my soil stuff, but boy, when the plants rolled in, I have some friends at Southern Living, they donated about $100,000 worth of plants for this garden and shipped them to us for nothing. So anyway, that was beautiful. So everybody gets in the act, we're unloading stuff left, right, up, and down, and volunteers doing it, and it's like perking people up. You know, there's Monica right on. Monica, you see this picture of Monica with the lovely hydrangea here, right? I took 8 pictures of her with this plant, and every picture's got her eyes closed. And when I was taking the pictures, she had them open. Obviously, she didn't stand there. Anyway, it's crazy. So, got a few things in the ground. I'm big on removing tags, please, if we can, and all that stuff. So anyway, everybody was getting involved. First, we used pine straw for mulch. And there are good and bad things about using pine straw for mulch, just like every other mulch. So imagine that. So anyway, line things out there, things got going, and that was a cool little thing. And we had a dedication for it. And we're speaking words of wisdom, and here's our celebrities and all that stuff. And you're going, where's the celebrity? We had somebody from Southern Living come by and say a few kind words and all that stuff. So, you know, the Arboretum's kind of a funny thing where a lot of shade in there, a lot of dappled sun and all that, so we find the caladiums work very well over there for us. Because if you don't have the water, if you don't want to water, don't plant caladiums. Okay? Just forget it about that whole, oh, we'll plant them and water it 3 times and let it go. No, it needs constant attention. But they are very showy and all that. We planted gardenias of all sorts. This is a Gordelinia, which is a cross between a Gordina, I think, and a Franklinia. And the Franklinia flower is much more beautiful, much more fragrant, but hey, we'll take what we can get. And the reason this plant's special at all is because this is kind of a plant that it does well in like Portland, and, you know, across the Columbus, Ohio, and stuff like that. So anyway, I never knew there were so many varieties of hydrangea until they started sending them to us. And I'm like, man, this is up and down and sideways. So that was great. So anyway, garden in midsummer looks, you know, real perky and everything. Always loved that little bit about how water will ball up on a caladium leaf like that. Several other plants that'll do that. We had engagements. This was our first engagement that happened. It was kind of cool. And so, you know, I don't know if there's any young brides here, but let's
at all.
Anyway, but you know, engagements are a thing now. I mean, they hire a photographer and all this, and then they have friends on the side and everything. And this poor girl's just walking through the woods, and she gets attacked, and she says yes and all that. Anyway, so this is a little pergola we used to have out there in this spot, and you know, this is the Arboretum, we're used to having the finest high-tech equipment to do everything. So I'm trying to figure out what kind of bench would look good under here. So anyway, so I got the little, trying to line it up and eventually see kind of what it's going to look like under there. So that was one of my favorite things. Anyway, so that's a little bit of fun stuff. I got a wild hair. We painted these butterflies, you know, with the hole cut out so everybody could use golf clubs for antenna because butterflies have golf club shaped antenna. Quinceañeras and stuff, that's cool. We had these people show. I have no idea what characters. I think these are like generic cartoons or whatever. But they were more fun. And they just ran around everywhere having fun. These kids having fun. Good stuff. And I wanted to put out a space. I wish there was an 8th grader in the room right now. But basically what I want to say is a lot of guys my age are griping about people this age. Because I had to work for everything and you don't, and blah, 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 blah. Well, whatever. They've been saying that since Cicero said it, 2100 BC or whatever. Anyway, these 2 young ladies came by and they said, we have 4 hours, we'd like to donate our time and do something. And they made these boards. They did a little artwork on them and stuff, and we made our wish list. So, right on. These kids, there's some good kids out there. Right. The big blue chair was originally a red chair, faded out, and a local nursery had it. So this thing it's quite large, and I started to paint it red, and I realized, man, it's going to be in the background of every picture ever taken at the Arboretum, because you know how red stands out. So I opted for blue. And then people thought it was getting all political. Paint, you know. So anyway, so I opted for the deep rich blue, and I couldn't figure out how I was going to get this thing over there. And then a community service person came in, and I said, "How do I get this thing?" And she goes, "Well, my daddy could do it." And this girl's about 23. And I remember when your dad was everything on it. Yeah. I said, "Do you think he could pull this?" He said, "He's a professional truck driver." I said, "I bet he can do it." So anyway, he came in and helped us out, and there was the big blue chair the first day it went in, and ta-da. And anyway, you usually see people on it. So it was fun. I asked for a donation. I had a room in there, one of the classes, to make bookshelves out of a boat, flat bottom boat. So anyway, so somebody donated me a boat, 14-foot boat, 12-foot ceiling. So we got the thing and stuck it out by the pond and planted it up. And anyway, it looks pretty cool. So that's our little botanical boat. And yes, I've got another canoe for the bookshelves. That all works out. In case I look familiar. So yes, I do that all the time, and it's fun. And since it looks like one of my favorite things that ever happened to me in my life lasted about 4 seconds. Okay, it's July. I'm at a hotel in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm coming down. So the door to the hotel lobby is over here on this side of the room. The elevators are on the back. I'm coming off the elevator to go out. There's 2 parents at the front desk and about a 13-year-old boy, and they're trying to get the room ready and all that. And a little girl behind them. The girl's about 4, and she's ballerina dancing, back there, and she's just having a good time. And she's just doing her thing, and she sees me. And as I went by, I winked at her. And that little girl went. Winked at me, and the last I saw was hitting the door, and she was running to her parents. Anyway, thank you for letting me tell myself. All right, zinnias is kind of our zinnia section over here, and that's because this lady, she's fantastic. I want to volunteer over everything. One of our board members found a turtle in his backyard, so he thought an arboretum would be that. They do have tortoises up here and stuff. So you watch these. Everybody's seen these anoles, right? Have you ever stopped and watched them for a while? Because when they molt, they eat the skin. Wow. Anyway, and then have you seen them duke it out? Because this thing, see that thing right there? When it approaches another male, it builds a crest and gets an eye thing on there. So they go from that to looking like that. And they're tenacious. It was great. It was one of my fun things. One of my favorite things about East Texas is all the woodpeckers. And this is the best picture I've ever gotten of a woodpecker. Because they're fast too. They don't hold still for me. So. Anyway, so we have some beekeepers, so we put a little beehive up, and so where we want to put it, so we put it in a gift shop window, so the bees can come up and access it, but you can see it from inside, clear glass, so you can see in the beehive. It's pretty cool. And of course, this is, see how they're pointing out the queen? Yeah. You ever seen the difference between the queen and the other bees? Here's the queen, here's the other bee, and here's the other bee. That's why they had to paint a red dot on it. Anyway, so that was cool. So we had and everybody was getting into it, and all the news showed up and all that stuff. There was a little thing taken from the inside, so you can see how you can do that. So I guess a little more fun stuff. If I'm famous for one thing, I can pack a truck probably as good as the country. So I think so. Anyway, that's how I pulled up. This was inside. So we had all those plants, and then everything in this picture, all these boxes and crates went in that truck. Wow! It was a brilliant thing. So you throw the things out. Here's my wild turkey who's in here for no reason. Bless her heart. This is one of the coolest ideas I've ever heard of. When we started, we had like a broken trowel and a screwdriver. And we had just nothing. And you're like, where do you even start? So I think it was the Native Plant Society said, they have bridal showers for brides, they have baby showers for babies. Why don't we have a garden shower? And so people started bringing wheelbarrows with all this stuff in. People just went over to places. The Arboretum, they just get started. And of course, long-time customers, business owner, you're going to put something in this wheelbarrow. So we got a whole lot of stuff. Great idea for that. And everything was welcome and beautiful. We got a flagpole, which is really cool. I like flying the flag. Daffodil days, where we had a bunch of crazy people want to come and plant daffodils. And these drills are about the best thing I've ever seen in my life until you hit roots. And then you know what I'm talking about? They never tell you about it on a package, So you better brace that thing on your leg or something, because you get it out. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, there's the joke. Anyway, everybody was having a good time with all this. I can't believe how much the garden has grown in the background from this thing. anyway, everybody's having a Cheerio time, blah, blah, blah. Daffodils coming, we planted take-to-take, because those were real short areas, and I think we had some Carlton and Mount Hood, and a couple others. Anyway, beautiful things, who doesn't love that? So, when I came here in 2019, we got the Arboretum started getting things, recruiting volunteers, doing this, and COVID. Stop everything. But before we stopped, we had our first education field trip, which was probably the best field trip you could ever get, because it was like a little classroom we made up. And anyway, these kids, they were all problems, and they're special needs kids, and they've got some sort of problem. So some of them, they're not obvious, and this kid just looked like every other kid to me, which they're somebody's kid, they are everybody else's kid. So anyway, the string thing where you have nails and you put the string across there. So I made a heart and I made a bat. And of course, me and my stupidity, I figured the girls are going to take the hearts and the boys are going to take the bats. It was about 50-50 both ways. So I thought that was really cool. And by the way, when I came up with this idea, I said, oh, this is great, and then of course the teachers over there, they're like, you're going to hand nails to our... So I got over there and I said, I can treat you like babies, or you look like fine students. Anyway, so we got on it, and everything worked out great. I was telling my dad about this, and I was so proud of myself for discovering this new thing. He said, oh, we used to do that when I was a kid. Perfect. 1942 they were wrapping these things up. Anyway, kids got all sorts of problems and all that, but man, the smiles on these kids, it meant a lot to everybody, so I thought that's cool. So around the garden, we got hibiscus that I don't know how big it's going to get. It went to about 14 feet one year and 12 this last. So these calla lilies they're coming up with are actually amazing. We try and plant stuff, you don't normally see snap too many foxglove, thank you. There's a word that comes in and you're going, that ain't it. It's like a broken record, we're going to do it. Anyway, the ditch house is really cool. We planted a little children's garden area here, so trying to make it interesting. For one, I'm going to want to get the plants up a little bit so kids can easier handle them and all that. And then to make it interesting, so we got some of these troughs that normally used for cattle, and planted everything in here. Of course, this is a sensory garden, so it's all about taste, touch, smell, whatever the others are. Memory. We had a couple of rings we didn't know what to do with, so we did that. That's bubble gum petunia, that's cool. And I've always been a big fan of Dr. Seuss. I actually got to quote Dr. Seuss in the garden. And so, anyway, we built this little thing, and it was, I'm so proud of it, because there's a future children's garden going in, so we were clearing some land there, and so I went over the day before we cleared land and dropped all the eastern red cedar and then harvested all that wood. So, and on those we made stuff, and we started sticking signs up there. I wanted the kids to think about local and global and maybe universal and whatever. Want to make sure everybody knew about wall drug. Anybody here been to wall drug? Right on! I don't know why that's stuck there, but anyway, so you got the idea garden there, so so I'm plugging everybody with that. And Cappadocia is crazy. I discovered that one day in an old National Geographic magazine, and then the day I was making signs, a friend of mine sent me a text with the pictures. I'm in Cappadocia. I'm like, what? Look, I got to make the sign. So anyway, do that. And there's also one that's in Beebe, Arkansas. And that's where I grew up. So, right on. So anyway, we made a little bamboo frame. I don't know if I have a later picture of it. And, these upright elephant ears allocations, they do very well for us and all that stuff. So this is an example of how much respect I get. And I was going to take a picture with Lori. So I said, all right, Lori, we're taking a picture. And she keeps screwing around with the steering wheel. And I said, Lori, can we take a picture? She keeps doing it. Lori, can we take a picture? What? And finally we go, oh yeah, we're supposed to take a picture. And you can tell my mind is highly and easily distracted. Nothing like love. This is not a picture from the Arboretum, but this is Greg Grant. Can you imagine coming upon that thing in the woods? That's pretty amazing. So anyway, all right, so back to this. We got a little deal here. I made a little fence. I need to go slower and make them a little nicer. Because, you know, a lot of them look like, is that a squirrel? Is that jump? Or, you know, what's going on there? So, anyway, we have a bunch of stuff in there. Oh, there's the BB Arkansas sign. And Paris, France, and Paris, Texas. I thought that was good. Hogwarts. Man, I got a lot of signs. I thought I knocked some of them out. But anyway, that's kind of what the area looks like there. You go around, we got these swanky bird houses that this some guy makes. And we sell them in the gift shop. We put a few in the garden. But crazy bird houses with all sorts. I don't even know if I've ever seen a bird in it. Anyway, so one of the things that concerned me when I got to the Arboretum is like there was no place to sit if it's raining. Okay? And this was the only place. So this was a phase 2 thing anyway. But and so I started trying to develop some roofs because I figured sooner or later it will rain. And so anyway, so that's what we're doing. Back to caladiums there, bumping up, rearranging some beds a little bit, and this was fun. Somebody donated this little bench, and then it disappeared one day. And then a master gardener brought it back, and she put all this, mosaic stuff, and the frog too. I thought that was good. So anyway, this is jumbled stuff, and I don't know, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I got a friend in Fort Worth, and man, if a plant says it will grow to 48 inches wide in 7 years, he will plant them 48 inches apart. And I'm like, I could die within 7 years. So I plant two, and so my gardens tend to be exuberant. That's the word. Anyway, so that thing got moved over there a little bit. We're doing this, what color? This is kind of funny. This was spec'd for the landscape architect King Tut Papyrus. That is not winter hurting in the least. So anyway, use it as an accent or an annual or something. Don't count on it for that. Anyway, we got a nice little pond over here, which the color, that's about as beautiful as the water's there. Before festivals and stuff, we actually get black pond dye and throw it in there. And so the pond is here, and the water's pumped up to the waterfall, or to the headwaters, and then comes down a little stream, and then just recirculates. So that's kind of the deal with that. I thought this was cool. We had a little Japanese garden, or kind of an oriental pavilion, I should say that. And anyway, so that's coming up to it, and looking at it, I remember when we came to the inspection, and I came over, and the thing, of course, there it is with no roof. And I'm like, well, where's the roof? And the guy looks at me and says, Japanese pavilions don't have roofs. Just kind of waves me off like I'm an imbecile, right? I'm over here thinking, I've been studying Japanese gardens for about 35, 40 years. I hadn't seen one that doesn't have a roof. And so anyway, but whatever, big schmo, he had a couple of friends with him. Oh yeah, I'll never have roofs anyway. So about 3 weeks later, two guys from Longview and 2 guys from Tokyo, they were all work for Komatsu, come walking down the sidewalk. And I knew one of the guys from Komatsu here, and the 2 Oriental, or little Japanese, they were about that tall, and I bet their suits cost more than my house. These were finely attired men. And they came up, and before I could even say hello or anything, they were talking, I hear them talking about that. The guy from Japan goes, where's the roof? Anyway, well, we made it to that. Anyway, so this little Christmas tree we planted out there to decorate, and that's what we ended up with. I'll tell you a story here a little bit if we got time, and me and stories. So. I can hear. Did you hear that low groan from the back row? Anyway, so there's lots of little things and stuff all around. Just trying to get. This is a wall of river birch trees, which I keep telling gardeners, do not limb up trees. Do not limb up trees. Last I heard, they're bored and don't know what else to do, so they're limbing up trees. Which brings me to everybody's question. Everybody said, where are you at? Where are you going? What are you doing? All right. So, basically, I had a life moment last year, and my father's going to need a lot of help in his aging years, and I don't think I can really help him from Longview. So I made this decision to go back to Fort Worth, and so where am I moving to in Fort Worth? Have no idea. Where am I going to work in Fort Worth? Have no idea. Okay. I just don't know right now. So it was weird, and I'm 64 years old. I've had a job in some form or fashion since I was 13, and I never quit one without having another one lined up until now. And then people are going, "Oh, you're so close to retirement." It's like, I'm just, a couple of $100,000 short of retirement. Anyway, so that's that. So anyway, if you want to discuss it further, that's great. Sometimes that's all to say. All right, so we're walking around the garden and things are filling in a little bit and all that. I don't know which is, everybody loves these little, can you see the bronze cranes in there? It's one of my favorite stories. This lady comes up, she goes, "Oh, we've had to close the garden club, so I have to donate the proceeds to a nonprofit, so I'd like to donate them to here, and I'd like to see if I can get a bench with our plaque on it, our name on a plaque." I said, "Okay, how much money are we talking?" She said, $841. Well, that's not going to get a bench. And benches are $5,000. So anyway, so we're talking around, and she goes, "I've always loved those bronze cranes. Do you think?" And I was like, "I bet we could get some of those." So ordered them online. They're sitting in the warehouse. And the lady shows up when I'm out in the garden and says, "Oh, we're here to see the bronze cranes." And I haven't even unpacked the freaking things yet. So anyway, I said, "I've been waiting." Occasionally I think fast on my feet. "I've been waiting for you to show. I'll be right back." So I brought them back up here in the golf cart, and I said, I want y'all to tell me where you want them. So the ladies were, "Oh, just a little too." Moving this thing around, but once they got right there, and then they were all happy. They all exploded with applause and everything, and I thought, boy, did I pull that one out. Anyway, it was a wonderful thing. I planted some traveler red buds. That's kind of cool there. This is the best thing I ever bought in my life for anything ever. It's a swamp cooler that you can roll around, put outside. The whole thing's about this tall. It's no harder to push than a lawnmower. Okay, so the wheels are all good and everything. And so what's the problem with the garden in the summer? It's so hot. You go out. I stay another hour, but I'm dying. Well, you put this out in the garden, people can cool off a little bit. I was like, and I don't know why. Every garden in the country doesn't have a bunch of these. By the way, I bought the orange one because that was the only one they had at the time, but I got a blue one later. And I painted the orange one blue, and then the blue paint peeled off. All right, we'll move on with it. All right, so our warehouse. The biggest thing going on with Arboretum right now is they're renovating this warehouse. It's 100 feet by 120 feet. And so it had a new roof on the outside, new insulation underneath, and new lighting, and walls, and it's a mess right now. So anyway, so you see all this room. One thing that no one ever has at gardens and such is a storage room. And so until this warehouse, we have the biggest storage room in the world here. So it's quite great there. That's a little front thing there, a little front shot, entrance there. Occasionally people come up and do something nice. So this bank gave us a credit union, gave us the money for the fashion. That was cool. Our people showed up. It's all, I love springtime with ladies all wear dresses. The spring thing, they can't wait to wear the dress. So they wear it early even if it's chilly. So that's kind of looking out there. There's the fountain again, and we did would like to put a plug in for these candle trees. I always thought those were great. They had a great dimension to your garden there. So anyway, remember the Christmas tree? So all I heard was the lady wanted a Christmas tree and she made a donation. So I go out to this nursery and I'm looking around and I spot this holly tree. And I mean, it's just perfect. It's a full-size Burford. I figure it's going to go 25 feet, in time and all that. I'm like, how am I going to get this thing wrapped up? Well, the guys come over, they did this thing. Wow. Into the back of the truck it goes, so my problem is pulling it out when I got back to the Arboretum. I did, and I eventually pulled it out without busting the thing. And we got it planted the next day. And so I got, and I was really proud of it. I thought this is the perfect thing and all that. One of my, it's my first experience with biblical grade upsettedness. I mean, there was gnashing of teeth. There was, this lady was so, it's supposed to be a Christmas tree. No. Anyway, she hated it. She read it. And of course, here I was ready to get a, way to go, Stevie, and beautiful. And she, hey. So anyway, so we dug it up, put it in a bowl. All right, my favorite part of the story is, okay, what would you like in there? And she goes, well, something that looks like a Christmas. All right, you want to evergreen, something with needles on it, or pine scales. Okay. Here, how about Arizona cypress? It's in this picture. I hate it. And then this Eastern red said, hate it. I went through about 20 different plants. And then I found a cultivar of Arizona cypress called Carolina Sapphire. So I sent her the same picture that I sent her at the very first of the Arizona cypress, but I put Carolina Sapphire. She loved it. So there's a Carolina Sapphire over there. This will probably warp somebody's mind if it does. I don't know. You try and get interesting containers for your garden, and sometimes you're going, I can't really tell what's happening here. It's like some angel from the knees up. Anyway, when you have no money and people are donating stuff, you take it. This was a historic day. They've given me an office with these beautiful beige walls. And anyway, I got to have blue walls. The color of your shirt is the color of my life, man. And speaking of blue, anyway, this is still clear dinner, and they changed it. Anyway, cool stuff, pass along plants and all that more. With some of those Eastern red cedar stuff, we make fences and stuff, rustic stuff in here. This was supposed to change my world. This was a moon carrot, and
Eat it or smoke it.
I tried both. I didn't get it. Never saw the moon. There's a very popular shrub of sunshine ligustrum. You know what I'm talking about? What I love, it doesn't put on seeds or anything, so you don't have to worry about all that. But I had one in this row of them, and I figured, well, I'll keep that as a hedge and this stuff. But anyway, I kind of forgot about it, and it grew out, and I love it untrimmed. I just love that whole, it's a great texture thing. Plant it in shade, it'll go green. You plant it in the sun, it'll stay yellow. So. And this is one of my favorite things that happened here. We had in May, we had one of our master gardeners, Robin Naylor, come up, and she said, I want to donate some candle trees to the garden, and I want us to plant them in there. So she came back, she comes back with 21 candle trees, all right? And they're all about this tall. So we plant them, and this is what they look like in the fall. They looked like this before I found out why she got these plants. She planted these in honor of the people from New Valley. And I didn't even know it until, months later. So anyway, good ideas are good ideas. Remember that little Japanese pavilion? This is the roof halfway on. Which really makes for an interesting picture. Anyway, it's kind of like that. So the little Christmas tree, we built a bed around it. There's a little tree. We planted some annuals in. I thought this is kind of fun. And this is actually, I believe we stole this idea from the Equipment Arboretum. Didn't you used to have pebbles painted like that? Yeah. Yep. So, thank you. And the big blue chair? Usually looks something like that. All right, so one of the things that I get by with a little help from my friends. You don't believe it, do you? No. Hey! landscape architecture professor at UTA, and occasionally he needs projects for grad students to work on. So I said, hey, can you come over here? And he did, and my gosh, they did this amazing job. And we'll just share a little bit. You've kind of gotten the main layout here of the garden. So as it is now, figure out where I'm at. Okay, so when you come in, this was my parking spot for a long time. Anyway, so you come in the entrance here and then go through the stuff and then you come out, and this is not built yet and this is not built yet. So there's, you come down the sidewalk and you go through here and then the rest is kind of developed, okay? So that's kind of where we're at right now with all this. And the old entrance that you were supposed to come in goes to Mod Cop parking lots right up there, and everything's all right. Everybody cool? And all right, so that's kind of what we're looking at, the future children's garden down here, terrace seating, which is great lawn, has a slope which works adequately now, but I don't know if y'all, does it happen to anybody else? Every year I have a birthday. Every year I get a little older, and every year I hope no one's looking when I have to get up off the ground. Basically, I mean, every year it gets harder, so I'm like, yes, we should create this, every garden should evolve to a easier to maintain, more pleasant kind of thing. And most, in our own ineptness in ways, we do the opposite of that sometimes. Sometimes we get things so complex, and then you're going, well, gee, my back hurts. I don't feel like going and weeding for 7 hours today or whatever. So anyway, it'll catch up with you, I guess. So anyway, this landscape architect group, they're talking about here's the way the waters are flowing and all this kind of stuff, and they're talking about this and that. So all sorts of good ideas, and you're gonna just break your eyes on reading some of that. I get it, but anyway, so they're talking about view sheds and stuff like that. This little thing, remember my little pavilion right there? And I hope this whole area becomes a Japanese garden one day. Sorry. Good place for it, and this is really solid, solid pines right in here too. Little grove of solid pines. So anyway, so the idea is to do something here and make it easier for people to sit on the slope. There's the stage. We've got the background of the fountain. We just planted 14 pond cypress on the back side of that. So, and the idea there, so they're from about here to about here. The idea that when you come in, they'll form the background for this thing. It'll just be amazing. Pond cypress is a little different from bald cypress. It's I'm a bald cypress. If I lost 100 pounds, I'd be a pond cypress. That may be the best cultural explanation I've ever because everybody could see it, right? Oh, yeah. Anyway, so of course they have all these graphics to fill anything. If anybody's getting somebody draw up your landscape design, the first thing I see when I see them is the big lie, because everything's in flower at the same time on the design. And this fall aster, this the spring is the mangoes are flowering at the same time. Anyway, so they're looking at things like that, and the Japanese garden keeps getting more complex. I did a drawing, I did a design for one, and it's kind of weird because all the trees, I'm kind of proud of that, all the trees are planted in rows this way, okay, 12 foot apart. And so the trail for the Japanese garden goes against that so that you never feel like you're walking down one of those things. It's broken up. So anyway, one of the things for the future and stuff like that, that's a view from the straight west. Oh, the other thing they can do with these computers, they make 100-foot trees up here. So anyway, you see what we're talking about. This is the west entrance. So most of our big concerts and stuff like that, and big events, people come in the west entrance because that's where all the parking is. Okay. Mod Cobb has a big thing. Only once have we failed to adequately notify Mod Cobb that we had a mob coming. The same day, they had a mob coming in. Well, it is their parking lot. So that's the little toll booth right now, and it's going in the west side. That's kind of maybe how it could look in the future. And those trees, man, just popping right. All that stuff. Ticket booth, fancy gates, which is really nice, and the entrance. You know, an entrance should say this is the entrance. You know, it should kind of have that feel to it. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now, and there's possibilities for the future. That little restroom that was right there is right there. So anyway, and doing that, and then a little pavilion area, covered area here. This could be for events and such, and maybe even the wedding here. Sometimes they have down by the water there. Looks like some solar stuff going on top here, trying to be. I bet the reason that roof is like that is because that's a rainwater catching roof there. So, which is something everybody should be doing. It's amazing, you know, because I was over there in the West Oplex, and every time I turn on the weather, oh, it's raining in East Texas. And I'd be so jealous. No, they're getting rain in East Texas. And I must be the reason that it doesn't rain more here. Because once I moved here, I mean, it kind of, it doesn't rain near as much as I thought it would. But we'll take it. We'll take everything. So anyway, that red soil can be amazing or a beast too. So anyway, there's a little area looking that way. Just envision it covered in with plants and such. Little business here. So what's happened here is on the actual site. This is not here yet, and these beds are not here yet. But the design that, and it was kind of one of mine, so I was kind of proud of that. I wanted beds all the way around in a horseshoe shape. And we did plant in LA, so we have trees, Shumard oaks coming down here. They're still small, but 2 rows of them. And we placed it so that from here you can still see the stage, so we kind of do a little cockeyed thing. But anyway, that's for the future. Boy, it'll be spectacular. So that's kind of the main lawn now. You see the butterflies in the background. Kind of funny, we built boxes because the little 3-year-olds couldn't get their heads up there. You know? The 2-year-old doesn't care. They're, the 3-year-old, I gotta do it, you know. So. And our kid's the greatest. Maybe this is a little off topic, but most of your talk has been. Before I had kids, you know, you'd sit in a restaurant and there'd be some kid fussing and blah, blah, blah. I'm over there thinking, did you make that kid shut up? Once you have a kid, poor little fella's having a rough day. Just changes everything. So anyway, it was a good thing. So there's the idea of maybe creating some more interest going down to the pond, and I'm going to get into all that. But Japanese garden features that I'm thinking about, and all of these are exquisite things. They're very expensive things. So that was kind of a vision. All Japanese gardens have a fence around them. I don't know if you know that. It's kind of one of the principles of Japanese gardens. There's our little pavilion in whatever form. It's got a roof. That's the greatest thing. So this is one of my favorite things that just got me sideways with the ladies. They said, why is there stuff growing around the edge of the pond? And I said, well, those are native plants and stuff. Gives them a chance to do this. And she goes, well, can we just get it cut so it's just all the way down the lawn? I said, okay, so when little Johnny comes out here and he slides down that thing, so you want to make sure he doesn't have anything to hold on to while he's going in that pond. So he just slides all the way, and maybe they'll flush him out at the outflow. You know. So we got a ring around the pond. Once a year we buzz it in. This is a great idea, one of the best ideas I've seen from that landscape architecture. So basically, here's what's going on, okay? This sidewalk exists, so they've created another sidewalk that goes right along the edge of the pond, and then this actually goes over the pond. And the trick is, I hope it's on the next slide.
Is it a boardwalk?
That's the trick.
Yeah.
And this allows you to be out in the water, walking on a thing, and if you fall off, you're not dead. They have a little platform here, there's plants growing up on the platform you know, so when your kid falls in or whatever, because kids will fall in. I worked at the Fort Worth Botanic Garden for 16 years, and one of my proudest moments as a human being, and I just felt proud because I was so lucky. Some daycare was out there, and one of the kids fell in. None of their teachers could swim. And they sat there and watched that kid. And I came along, and if I had to do it again, I would have left it on. But at the time, it was a pager. The pager went in. Or no, I threw the pager out and saved the pager. Got my wallet wet. And I was like, I should have saved the wallet. Yeah. Around the pager. Anyway. But I thought that was really cool. So if you got ideas about how to do stuff, that's looking up. There's a tent for a wedding put out there. That's kind of groovy. There's what it might look like with some terracing put in there. And I don't know what kind of trees are these, Greg?
Like cross between a cork oak and a sycamore.
Anyway.
Fake.
So other plans include, expanded parking here, this future children's garden. Should be one of the most amazing things, because quite honestly, children's gardens are one of the easier things to raise money for. Okay? And so you say, I want a pollinator garden. Oh, here's $6. For a children's garden, she got the checkbook out and put zeros.
Yeah.
So that's what we, anyway, okay, so let's go along. I probably have too many pictures in here, which is just fine, I guess. Anyway, the visitor centers, that's how it is now. They're going to take this area and basically build restrooms for the warehouse that will be accessible from this side or this side. And I won't comment because it kind of breaks my heart. Anyway, there's my truck right there. And that's how it could look coming in on Cotton Street. So, oh yeah, we got to cover a couple things because of this survey thing. All right, so the Arboretum is 29 acres, 26 of which are city property, 3 acres of which belong to the board. Okay? The city contributes about $200,000 for the maintenance of the Arboretum, and then after that, all the capital things, when we're building things and all that, the board raises money for that. Okay? The board is a separate non-for-profit, so anyway, it operates separately from the city, which is good, and because they can do a lot of things. City's bound up by a lot of procedural stuff, which it has to be, or someone would steal your city. It's so amazing. People, why are there so many regulations? Like, there's a reason. Anyway, so, and let's see. So the Arboretum the board manages it. What were the other questions we got? Why should you go to the Arboretum? What kind of things can you do there? Okay. For one, the simple structure. It was so funny when I first got there, the walkways were the main feature. That's all anybody, our pathways are smooth. And, while I appreciate smooth pathways, I'm like, I thought we came here for plants or something, to kind of see a garden. So, anyway, so a lot of people come there for exercise. They come and walk those paths and stuff. Some people come in times of joy, engagement, stuff like that. In times of sorrow, you see somebody out in the garden and this and that. By the way, my personal policy on this, if there's a pile of obviously human ash left, I just leave it alone. Okay? This whole, and you're going, well, who do I see about? Don't ask. No garden will ever give you permission to dump any human ash there. Okay? But I get it. I was at the Botanic Garden. We found ashes all the time. Because people love the place, and that's why they want that's their good memories and all. So that's okay. As a gardener, you should just put some leaves over or something. It's good. It's good for the work. Anyway, costs $5 normal admission. First responders and police and vets and all that, $3. You've got passes. Hopefully, I had enough for hopefully everybody. If somebody didn't get one, maybe somebody will share one. I don't know. Where is it? 706 West Cotton. So if you go down 31 till you hit till you're basically in Longview, and then you're right there by Cotton Street. So, What else did you get? Oh, if you ever want to get involved in it, volunteers are great because volunteers, you can't run the place without them. And so it's easy to volunteer. You just show up one day and say, hey, and you fill out a form because we got to know basically who you are in case you fall over, you know. Who is it? I don't know. Some lady showed up. She's down now. Anyway, it's not a matter of getting in your business. It's just trying to be responsible. And, if you want to be a board member, I think there's, in case some of you want to do that, which is a way of getting more involved. You're still a volunteer. You just do a little more stuff. And Greg, you got any other comments?
You did an amazing job there. So.
Greg has been a great help for me and support. Most of it is.
I was raised in Longview, so I know what you're up against.
Greg, I don't know what the hell. It's so friggin' hot. It won't ever stop being hot. Blah, blah, blah. And he goes, hey, you're gonna have to suck it up, boy.
I have a question about how the city of Longview helps the Arboretum. Do they contribute financially?
It's a cash contribution, yes. And it is capped. And
The
that's,
city donates that to the Arboretum?
well, okay, I'll give you a little info you don't know. This is kind of cool because this, I don't know if I should be talking about this. Ooh, this is the good stuff.
It's all going to be on YouTube, so go ahead.
Before I took the job, they told me, oh, the city is going to contribute $190,000. And so I took the job, I moved over here and stuff, and then they said, oh, y'all are mistaken. We're going to contribute $80,000. And so that was less than half, and that was the first year. And I started on October 5th, okay? Their budget year starts on October 1st, and by the time I came on board on the 5th, they had already spent all of the money for the year on 2 contractors. One of which is a mowing contractor. He did okay, but overpriced, and the other was the bane of my existence for, anyway, which led to my successful novel, Murder in the Garden.
Who pays the water bill? The city or who?
Okay, this is a beautiful thing, all right? The city contributes the irrigation water. Okay? So the city water, it's got 2 systems. One's kind of it's irrigation water, and the other one's city water that can be used for the bathrooms and the water lines and all that. Yes?
Of the money that the city contributes, do you have control over it, or does the city control it?
I'll tell you what, after that first fiasco of that first year, the city has been fantastic with that. And they write I would have to write an invoice, maintenance of the garden, blah, 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 and they'll send you a check, and it's,
So you can control how the
Absolutely.
money is, okay, good.
and ultimately it's the board who does it.
Okay.
What's the delta though? How much money is needed?
$78 million. It's almost like how much catfish do you eat it? All you can eat. No, money, it's basically there's operations, and that takes an X amount of money, and basically the city contribution covers pretty much that. Okay? But it's the building and if you put a new building up or a greenhouse or anything like that. Sometimes those get sponsored by an individual who will say, oh, we're looking for a greenhouse. And say, well, if I do that, can I get a plaque on it? Yeah. And people do like their name on a plaque. And the easiest one is a brick. You can get your name engraved in a brick for $150. Which guess, I'm going to tell them the secret. Can I tell them the secret?
Yes. What they do, fire you?
For the last 20 years, I have made the assumption that it was Dr. Greg Grant. So I got him a brick. This is Dr. Greg Grant. I put it in there, and he came up and went, damn, now I'm going to have to go to school soon. And that's what he's doing.
Break in my office every day, thank you.
So you're welcome that I inspired you to go. Anybody else got, yes? Oh, that is not city water in that. Okay, so basically upstream, okay, so There's the Mod Cobb Center, which is a convention center, lots of paved parking. Beyond that's like the rodeo grounds, lots of dirt and stuff, all right? So when water comes off of these parking lots, it goes in this ravine, and the ravine has major soil erosion in it anyway, so that is all soil from upstream that ends up in that. And it was a lot worse at first. We had a pond guy put something in there that would hopefully make things lock together and drop, you know, out of suspension, and it works for a while, sort of. But to make it look good for a wedding or something, black dye, not blue dye. It looked like a giant toilet bowl. Guess how I found that out? Anybody else? Yes, sir.
If you were to build the entire center out in accordance with the plans you shared, what would the development cost be?
I would just probably have to guesstimate it. I don't know that. See, that's the beauty when they're creating images like this. They're not pricing because they're grad students and they're moving along. But they gave us like 80, renderings like this, which is really inspirational for a lot of people. You got somebody going, well, maybe we need to read. What do you think about this? And then to see it, then you can start talking about stuff. To flesh out that arboretum, I figure the children's garden is probably going to go in at least the way I have it in my mind, about 2.5 million for a children's garden, and there's going to be some nature trails developed back in, and some little science huts in the woods that work off, and those will probably be 600,000-700,000. And there's a meadow next to it, which they're trying to figure out what to do. I said, man, let's just make it into a native pet. It'd be a great pollinator thing, and it's close enough it would teach, and it's kind of handy having woods right next to a field, so you can contrast things. And we put a bunch of bluebird houses right along that thing, which I know Greg would be good with. And he probably wants to sell me the bluebird house.
$2 million apiece.
So, it's almost like, how much money does it take to go to college? Well, what college? And how good is your scholarship? So, to answer your question, I think if they came into $5 million, it would build the place out. But you have to maintain that as well. So, a lot of times in fundraising, you'll try and raise a one-to-one. $1 in an endowment for every dollar spent on construction. And of course, you can't do that after you built it. If I'm trying to convince you to donate $2 million for a $1 million building, you're going to go. But if you understand that's to continue it on, make sure it's maintained and everything, then you do that. But if you've already built your $1 million building and you give me $1 million and I come back and say, oh, can I have another $1 million to make? There's no way. So you have to do it as part of construction before that. All right. Anything else? Y'all great. Thank you.